So welcome to The Next Level, a Partners Trust podcast series where we interview exceptional people doing exceptional things, both within the real estate community and outside the real estate community. So I'm very happy to be here today. My name is Nick Siegel, and we are in the Brentwood office of Partners Trust. And today we have an incredible amount of talent that is going to share the concept of team and how you apply it. And one of the things that I love about who we are as a company and the culture of Partners Trust is that we are a team. And for those of you that aren't in teams yet or have no interest in being a team, know that you are already part of a team. You're part of the Partners Trust team. So that is important. But I will tell you there's a trend, and I'll share those statistics in a moment, of what's going on and where the industry is going. But first I want to introduce our wonderful team. So Madison Hildebrand from the Malibu Life and a founding partner of our Partners Trust Malibu office.
Hello.
And hello. And so then we have Candace Gunther from our Pasadena office with the team of Roland and Candace. And then we have Ron Smith, founding partner, and the team of Smith and Berg. And then we have Lorraine Silver of Pence Hathorn and Silver. And your team has been going for more than 25 years now.
Yes, we had a big party last year to celebrate.
It was wonderful.
Yeah,
so
it was amazing,
look forward to your insights as well from our Santa Monica office, a founding partner there. And then, of course, Nancy Ross of Ross and Barton from our Beverly Hills office, a partner there. So welcome to you all. So let's jump right into this. Oh, but first I want to talk about these. These are Real Trends. It's a report from Real Trends. 50,000 realtors are part of a team in the U.S., and that comprises 68% of all realtors in the United States. 37% of these teams were formed between the last 1 to 3 years, and 27% were formed just a year ago. And 54% of individual realtors are considering being part of a team. So where we're going with this, with our real estate industry, very telling about teams and how that works. So let's get
Quick question on the 37% in the last 1 to 3 years. The BRE changed their policy where you had to register as a team. I'm wondering if that has something to do with such a big spike in the team.
Yeah,
because before legally we didn't have to call ourselves a team or register as a team.
Right.
You could just be a partnership or have a group.
So maybe what this is
now a classified team.
Right. So now we're just officiating more of what has already been trending.
I think so. Yeah.
Great point. Thank you. So let's start with Madison. Let's start with you. Why be part of a team? Why did you form your team? Was it more accidental and evolutionary, or was it strategic and planned?
Everything I do is pretty strategic and planned. I think when I first got into the business, I looked at who were the superstars in Los Angeles and in other cities and realized that most of them had a structure of some sort of support in a team, whether they were the one and only name and then everybody else was under them, or they were an actual team and they called themselves that, or they were a partnership. So when I branded myself and I bought my domain at the age of 26 and got into real estate, it was the Malibu Life. And that's what I always wanted, because I didn't want Madison Hildebrand, when I got successful, to have to be present and or the name and face of a brand or something that I wanted to grow. And growth is what we all want. So a team is what I was hoping to do. And so I used the Malibu Life instead of Madison Hildebrand and basically formed a team pretty short after. I mean, I always had support, but I think it's now been three years where I've had an official team because the BRE made us, but we were working as a team before that. And my purpose is, yes, I find it to be, I can't do everything. I tell people getting into the industry, you're, as a real estate agent, a secretary, a coordinator, a marketing professional, a communicator, a negotiator, a strategist, you're everything. And you can't really do everything, so you can pay for some help. But at some point, when your level of business reaches a certain point, you really do need that extra support, and they need to be professionals at what they do. So that, for me, being pulled away with the television show and being on $1 Million Listings for 9 years, it's just impossible to do what I should be doing in just real estate if I didn't have the team.
Got it. Candace, how about for you?
We're a team of three.
Mm-hmm.
Roland Wilhelm is our team leader and has 30 years in real estate in Pasadena and
Is there
surrounding cities.
any other disclosure you want to make about Roland Wilhelm?
Oh, there's more. No. Roland and I are partners in life as well as in business, and we are a team of three with Alex Ford as our newest partner. And we had, it was very deliberate, and we wanted to grow our business. It's what you've talked about, being you do so many things. We wear so many different hats, and one of our goals is not just to grow our business, but we want our clients to feel like they're our only client. Every client should feel like they're our only client, and so we don't ever want to say to someone, "We have to do that tomorrow. We can't do that today." We want to always be available to be responsive. So we've found that the team of three agents, we don't have administrative staff. We do all that ourselves, and we find that it works really well for us, and it supports our clients and our business really
And how
well.
long have you been a team now at this point?
Well, Roland and I have been a team of two for 10 years, and we've been a team of three for 6 months.
Great.
Alex joined us in March.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Mr. Smith, how long you been a team? Because you've gone
Nick,
in and out
I've been a
of
team all my life. I started working with David about 3 years ago, and we formalized it in November of last year. And one of the catalysts for me was the ability to be more efficient, and the ability to be able to grow the business in an exponential way. As Madison said earlier, really we've got 8 to 10 hours in a day. And if you've got a team system, it enables you to be in multiple places at one time. It enables you to be able to accomplish more transactions, more meetings. And the reality of it is, as with the meeting that you all went in on the other day, when you have a group, you've got multiple personalities. And there's a higher likelihood for you to be able to appeal to the other person sitting across the table. Because I'd like to think that I'm all things, all people, but I'm not. And so when you've got a well-supported team, you can be. And one of the things that I think is equally important is I do want to have fun and I want to enjoy life. And so the ability to be able to bring other people into the business with me, one, enables me to do that, and two, candidly, it enables us to be able to spread the wealth.
And get a life.
And enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a journey.
Yeah.
And so it's good to be able to bring additional people in.
Mm-hmm. Lorraine.
Well, my partnership started a long time ago before any of these. Over
As did
25
mine.
Over 25 years ago, and I can tell you the climate in real estate then was totally different. I started off as an individual, did everything. Literally in those days, you did everything. And there were just not enough hours in the day. So when John and Charles, who had already come together, that's Charles Pence and John Hathorne, my wonderful partners, approached me, I thought, this is going to make life so much easier, which of course it did. And we just grew and grew as a team. We took in my son, Brett Silver, he's part of the team as well. And then we also, a group, we have all our staff who help us, who do so thankfully all the paperwork, because that's the part that's really takes up so much time. And if you can get somebody to do that, it frees you to do the important things, the people part of real estate, which is so important. And as I think, as a team, the most important things I want to stress is if you collaborate as a team, then your collective energy, what you can give to your clients, is so much more, because all your client benefits from all your strengths as individuals. And this is what I call synergy. And I think when the synergy is high, you're giving all your strengths to your clients, to each other. That's when a partnership really works. You really stress the strengths of each partnership, because every individual is different. They're all good at different things. And then you can, when you think you're not so good at that particular thing that a client will want, he wants to crunch numbers. Okay, I'm not good at crunching numbers. I'll call in Charles. Just little things like that really helps. And then the second really important thing is the ability to pool your resources. So for example, marketing. It's 3 or 4 times what a single agent could afford for marketing. And marketing is so important for branding. It's all about branding and getting your name and getting the exposure out there, which you can do, of course, with more money and more stress than marketing. So we do a fortune. We spend a lot on marketing, and we are able to do that as a team, which I think is really important.
Great point. Great point. And, you know, Nancy, you and I have known each other for many, many years. And control and delegation and being able to let others.
You saying that's a strength of mine or a weakness of
Well,
mine?
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
We're trying to figure that out today.
Where are you going with that?
All of us at this table and in this room, we want things done the way we want it done. And so, and I know that about you, that you're very exacting. And in the partnership you have with Laura, you've got a great synergy. But how did that come about for the two of you? Because when I first knew you, I don't think you had a partner.
Correct. So, very different from Madison. I did not plan this. I'd been selling property for about 10 years by myself, and I was 9 months pregnant, about to have my child, and went, how am I going to continue to do this? Laura was 6 months in the business. We just decided to work together. At that point, nobody heard of a team. It was partnership, probably still is a partnership. So Laura and I have now been partners for 21 years and have a very different business than probably everybody here at the table because we do everything ourselves. Probably closest to you. Mm-hmm. We've talked about getting a third, and I'm a control freak, and I just can't make that go to the next step.
We need to talk.
Well, we'll talk about it today.
Right, but we talk about using a larger team. You know, I think I use Partners Trust as our team. Referred something to Madison just last month. We sort of can't be everywhere, can't do everything together, but knowing that we can look at the bigger picture. Marketing, we had a important listing, a winery coming up. I couldn't do the marketing on that, so we pulled in Wicked, and so I think I have
Wicked
this.
is our PR firm.
Correct. So I think that I'm using the team behind me over here, but in my day-to-day everything, it is Laura and I as a partnership.
Do you use a transaction coordinator?
No.
Really? Wow.
I must say, Wicked are wonderful. I'm also using them, and they are great. I really...
The PR firm. Yeah, that's been a
amazing.
tremendous
Yeah.
asset
Yeah.
for us as a company.
Yeah.
I want to stay with you, Nance, for a second.
Oh, don't pick on me.
No, I wouldn't dream. Because you know where I live. It's not going to go there. The idea of personality and client personality, and I want to pose this question to you all because you all have individual relationships with your clients. And then suddenly when the introduction of team comes into the equation, there is that potential concern of, well, I want to make sure I'm there for my client. And if I now have someone else handling an aspect of the transaction, is that client going to feel that they're taken care of? So how do you address that?
Very clearly. So I have my set of responsibilities and Laura has her set of responsibilities. And mine is really much more on the initial process and the negotiation process. And when I'm dealing with my client, I will tell them what I do and what Laura does. And at the proper point, Laura then is introduced to the client, and then she does what she does. And so it's the client knows who to go to for what. And I think as long as that's clear for the partnership and for the client, everybody wins.
Great point. Lorraine, how do you handle it? Because now the three of you are so dynamic, and you all have your own client relationships. How do you attend to that?
Well, when we go in, usually the agent that brings in the client is the one that's in control, but you bring in the team, and they love that, to know that they have the support of the team if they need anything. And you make it clear, if you're not available, please feel free to call one of the team members, which they do. If they can't get hold of me, they'll call one of the others. And then they don't feel they've been fobbed off onto somebody else. It's still one of the team. You
Fogged
know,
off? Is it-
Fobbed.
Fobbed off. Okay,
yes.
That must be a South African term.
They feel that it's part of the team, that it's just as good. Or if you need to take a day off, or if you're going on vacation and you say, my team member is going to be handling it, they don't take this as an insult as they would if you said some random agent is now going to take over. They wouldn't like that.
So you're managing expectations as well,
Yes.
and you do that up front?
Absolutely. Tell them that. And then we also introduce our staff members. When it goes into escrow, we have an escrow coordinator. She'll take over. She'll do all the escrow work. And they're quite happy with that. And the expectations are set in the beginning, so they don't feel as if they are not getting your full attention.
Yeah. Ron, anything you have to add to that from that perspective? How do you handle that?
I'm going to go off topic.
Please.
So going back to what Nancy said earlier, and that is, as far as systems, when we go in on an appointment, we've got Google Documents, and every transaction is done the exact same way. We know when we have a listing appointment, it's an initial meeting. So we will go in, whoever's initiated that meeting, we go in as a team. We meet with the person. There's a follow-up meeting. And on the follow-up meeting, we will bring in everyone. We'll bring in Dean, we'll bring in Yvette, David and I, and if there's another associate that's in on it, so it'll be 5 of us there. And sometimes people say, well, isn't that a little overpowering or overwhelming? It's not, because one, it gives the client comfort that they not only have 260 partners in Partners Trust, they also have the infrastructure with David, myself, and our team, so they know what's going on. And I would challenge to see who's more tightly wound, you or me.
I win for sure.
We'll go toe to toe on that. But what eases that challenge for me is that we've got these systems. Everything's in writing. I know on every deal that we've got exactly where each document is, because there's a folder for it. I know where everything is. I know where marketing materials are. I know where absolutely everything. And so it's all interchangeable. If one of us is out of town, if one of us is away, anybody else can step in and go online and find any document, any photo, any image, and it just works out beautifully. And it took a little, there was a learning curve, and when we bring someone new on, we go through that process so they know where everything is. And I've got to tell you, I think it's more empowering. I haven't found that clients haven't felt neglected by talking to David, myself, or Dean, or Yvette, or we recently had a fantastic transaction in the Palisades, with one of our associates, and it went beautifully, and we were all interchangeable. Sure. And I think you can do it that way.
Mm-hmm. Candace, your perspective on that?
Well, we all have different strengths and weaknesses, and we recognize that. But our goal is that we all do everything, and so it's interchangeable, like you say, with our clients. We understand that our clients is really interesting. Our clients will choose someone to bond with. And we just see it happening. We'll be in a meeting like this, and they'll all be going like this. They want to talk to Roland. They want to talk to me. They want to talk to Alex. Mm-hmm. We just go with that. Mm-hmm. And so if that's who they want to talk to, great, because we all do everything. We do all the paperwork. We know we have lots of systems. You have to have lots of systems, I think, to make a team work. And it was really interesting because we're closing tomorrow on a transaction, and our sellers had a party to introduce the new buyer to the neighbors. And they said, well, would you please come? Mm. And so we came to the party, and they said, bring your cards. They were so sweet. Yeah. They're really, really wonderful. And it was just interesting to hear at the end, our client stood up and she put her arms around us, and she said, when I hired this team, and she listed all the things you said. I got a negotiator, I got a salesman, I got a hand holder, I got an over communicator. I got all these things. And she said, and then she said, I knew I was hiring this, and she said, and then they all switch. She said during the transaction, then a different person would be the negotiator. And so that was just so validating, because that's exactly what we want to bring to the table, is that they can talk to any one of us at any time, and they're 100% comfortable that person's up to speed and on board with everything that's going on.
So less individual delegation, and you keep that team concept. Because it's interesting, Madison, you and I were at a meeting yesterday, and the business manager asked you point blank, okay, so you've got this big team, and how big is your team now?
We are 11.
11. So to this question of who am I getting, if I
get it every time.
Right, exactly. And so how did you answer that question, which I thought was brilliant, by the way?
So to answer the question, but to set it up, I do get asked the question, and this is for individuals who aren't on teams either, because I still think the point that you initially made, Partners Trust is our team. And we do have specialized personnel for marketing and a PR company. So in your listing presentation, we have 2 pages. One page is strictly my team with a face, our little tiny fun bio, 2-3 sentences, and what their exact title is. And those titles mean everything. And I'll explain why. And then if you don't, and then the next page we have is Partners Trust headquarters and who does what there. So if you're an individual, then you just put yourself in the middle of the Partners Trust headquarters and say, this is my team, because essentially they are. And in my case, we have the 2 pages because my team needs to be explained. And they always say, well, I'm hiring you and your team sounds great, but I want you to do the showings and I need to know that you're the one this and you're the one that. And my answer is that's exactly why I have a team. Because I cannot be the chief technology officer. I cannot do all the contract writing. Do I oversee everything? Yes. But do I have a contract writer? Yes. It makes things faster. But my job is to be out negotiating, networking, and showing property and taking listing appointments. And that is how I design my business, so I can be the face in front of what my client expects me to do.
So the 11 in your team, is that counting your assistants? And are you just the one founding partner and those are
I
all
have one
assistants?
official partner, and then we have 3 salary, and then
Assistants.
assistants, yep, and then others are agents that specialize in different areas.
Buyer's agents.
Agents,
Oh,
period.
just agents.
Yeah, we say our philosophy is we say yes to every single phone call. So it doesn't matter if it's a $3,000 a month lease that they want to list. We've got somebody in the office that will do it.
Yeah, we have somebody who just handles leases, totally just handles
Right.
all the
We
leases.
kind of select because personalities don't always match. So we also have to move the business around depending on where the business is. But if it's Malibu, we have more than one Malibu agent. But Jennifer Chrisman's my partner. She and I may not want that client or that lease or listing, but we don't want to give it away or
So you
lose
give
it.
it to
So
her.
we
Yeah,
bring a
we
team
do
member
that
in, we
too.
go on the listing appointment with them, and then we say, this is your point person. And generally they understand that, if it is a smaller scale situation, they're going to get the power of the Malibu Life team, but they're not necessarily going to get my
Personal attention.
And I explain that to them. But what I think that role and how you give people titles is so important is that they understand there is someone that's handling everything that's online. So all digital, all that is done. There's a marketing coordinator in my office. That's all she does, working with Partners Trust. So it's not, we get all this momentum, we're excited, we got your listing, and then there's the stall process because, I got sick or something happens. The bus effect, I found this in an article, they call it the bus factor. How many people can get hit by the bus? Well, if you've got 4 people and you're all across the street, it's very unlikely that all 4 are getting hit by the bus, but in the event someone's sick or out of town, something like that, you've still got backup. In the event that, someone goes down. The point being is once you take that listing, they're worried the momentum's going to slow because you've got it. Well, it doesn't, because my job is still my job. It goes to marketing, the sign goes up, the things are ordered, the technology stuff starts to happen. All of that happens systematically because everyone has a job role with a description,
All the
and the
assistants.
process just
Yeah.
continues on course.
Yeah, that's pretty much like us. We have the assistants and they each have a specific task and they do it. However, they can all do each other. So if the marketing guy is not there, then one of the others can take over. They can all dual.
We can try and all
task.
do that,
Yeah.
but we really try and keep everyone
No,
on
we
their...
do, but in case
Of
one
course.
of them's out, they
Yeah,
can
absolutely.
dual task.
Well, I think what you're all saying in
It's delegating.
the culmination of this starts with the authority of how you present the message. And I go back to the way you presented that message, because there were 2 business managers on either flank of the table, and the 2 clients are across from us. And the way you just said, this is what I do, and this is what I love to do, and that's
Right.
why I've created this team, so I can do more of what I love.
Right.
And I think with whether you're a brand new associate or whether you're contemplating a team, there's a great messaging in here. It's one, what's your personal authority and what you know your strengths are? And then how do you, as you grow your business, because no one can be in all places at once. And the ability to then take on those people that are a positive reflection of who you are, and also the people you trust. Let's talk about that for a moment. How do you, you're going to start to align yourself with other ambassadors, and how do you pick that person if you were to consider another team member now, beyond what their job description would be, what are the personalities and what you're looking for? Nancy, you're writing, so you got some thoughts on it.
Well, mine was a little off topic there that I didn't want to put it in the wrong spot. So I was going to make myself.
Oh, okay, very good. So who has a thought on this? If you were going to hire someone else, what would you be looking for?
Oh, I can tell you that's
Okay,
easy.
go.
Social media. Somebody that can actually do what I can't do.
Okay.
Younger than me.
Uh-huh. So, and with the intention of broadcasting the brand, the message of who you are, and all the
That is
successes
not
that you've
Laura's
done.
strength or my strength. So we are missing a complete segment. So if we were going to expand, and
Yeah.
yes, I'll take your expert advice, we would probably go in that direction.
Well, it's interesting that Partners Trust, when we talk about partnership, is about to roll out a three-pronged attack on that. We're putting that together.
I need somebody to do it for me.
Yes. Almost
This is the
all of it
problem.
will be done for you. You need to
Beautiful.
know how to push it to who
Okay,
your sphere of
that's
influence is. But do you have a Facebook account now? Do you have an Instagram account now?
Yes, I do.
Great. So then that's all you'll need going forward. So stay close, everybody.
I do think though that personality is really important.
Yeah.
And I think having a proper marriage is somebody that isn't exactly like you.
Yep.
So Laura and I are very different from our temperaments, from our personalities, from our working clock. I work late, she works in the morning. So this business that we all say we work 24/7, there is almost somebody working 24/7. I mean, yes, we sleep, but we're just opposite enough that clients will, yes, turn to her, to be more comfortable because they think she's a nice one and I'm not,
Good cup, bad cup.
Exactly. So I think that really is important if you're looking as a new agent to work with somebody. I think personality is important
Yeah.
to be different enough.
Ron, you have a thought?
Cool under pressure,
Uh-huh.
detail-oriented, and have the ability to improvise.
Say more about that.
It's so funny with as many transactions I think we've all done. No two are the same, and so you've got to be pliable. In fact, one of my favorite words, malleable. You must be malleable in various situations, because you've got to be able to read your client. You've got to be able to read what's important to them, and you've got to be able to address that.
To that point, though, so you only want to allow someone who's underneath you so much latitude. So how do you then start to define those parameters? Do you give someone, do you give Dean full license as one of your right arms to deal with the client and progress that negotiation? How deep do you go and allow them to go into the well?
Pretty deep, and so there's a tremendous responsibility for for associates in the company that work with me or work with us, because it's going to be very respectful, and I'm going to expect that you know your stuff. We did. I mentioned earlier, Magda Rodriguez and I did a transaction up in the Palisades, and she brought me in and she said, look, I'm not comfortable in doing this. I want you to help me. She was there in every meeting. She was there every step of the way. And I said, I know that it's empowering, Nick, which you've talked about for years. We're all capable of doing it. We've just got to step up and be able to do it. And the reality of it is, if, for us to be able to grow and be able to expand, we've got to be able to delegate. And because I'm as controlling
whether you're an individual or
as an
whether you're a
individual
team.
or as a team, and as controlling as I am, because of the fact that we've got systems in place, and so even though each transaction is different, there are constants in every deal. Documentation is the same. The structure of the deal is the same.
Sure.
And so if you've got that marked out, absolutely. I want Dean, I want Yvette, I want anyone working with us to be on par. Now, even today, I've picked up the phone and I've called you. I've picked up the phone and called other partners in the company. You always want to check your answer. You always want to make sure before you do that next step. But I think empowering people around me has enabled me to continue to grow.
Anybody else have a thought on that before I move on? Yeah,
I have
Nancy.
a thought.
Yeah.
We're talking about growth and growth and growth. I
Yeah.
also think as equally important is balance.
Yes.
And I
Let's
think
talk about that
and
in
I-
terms of work, personal life balance.
yes, and I think by having a team member or a partner or whatever it is, it allows you to have more balance in your life. whatever it is. Mine happens to be travel. So I can travel.
Yeah.
Yes, I always work on vacation, but I'm not physically here. And so I think that I guess I've looked at it more as balance rather than growth. Otherwise, maybe I would have done more of this pyramid and have more people. So I think that
You raise a good point, because if you don't have a team now and you go out of town, one of the great panics and fears that I had early on when it was just me was, who am I going to delegate my business to while I'm away, and am I going to need to stay engaged? So any advice any of you would have for if two individuals are looking, how do I get coverage so that I can have more work-life balance in my life? Any thoughts?
don't pick somebody that's where you are in your age and stage of life. It has to be different.
Don't
So
pick someone that's
Laura
in your
had
age.
kids that were older. I didn't have, my kids were younger. So our work time and our availability was always different,
You
and
mean
still
short
is.
time. If you're
I'm just talking
an
about a shorter
individual
term.
going
Yeah,
out
Well,
for
just
2
if you're picking a
weeks.
partner, I think that some of the reasons these partnerships have fallen apart over the years
Yeah.
is because they were two similar people.
Okay, I want to get back to that in a moment. But what do you do if you're two individuals and you want coverage?
I've got it easy. We've got. Here's what you need to do. If you know you're going to go on vacation September 10th, okay, and you've got a transaction going on, you need to identify somebody in the company that's going to be able to step in and help out. It's incumbent upon you to introduce that individual to your client and to the moving parts of the deal. We've got a good friend of mine, Kelly Griffiths, is going to Alaska. She's leaving tomorrow. She's got a deal that's closing in 8 days. She's panic-stricken. So she called me 2 days ago. I said, got it covered. I met her client, talked to the escrow officer, talked to the lender, because it's a challenging deal, although all the deals that we do are challenging. And so I got introduced to all the moving parts. Everybody's comfortable. She's going to handle it. She's going to be able to reach out, even while she's out of town, but I'll be the face person for her. And it's a one-off. And I think it's incumbent for all of us to have that buddy, to have that partner that you can reach out to, so you can have
And
sanity.
it doesn't have to be full time. If you
Exactly.
say, you watch my business when I go out of town, and I'll watch yours when you go out of
That's
town, it's
it.
like a dog sitter. I
But
mean,
you've also got to be very
It's like a therapist.
specific. But Nancy, you've also got to be very specific on what the trade-off is, what the compensation is. So you manage expectations at all
You
times.
have that all more or less.
See,
Yeah.
that's
Right?
where we come into play, because we never have that problem. We don't have to hand it off to some random. We've got the 4 partners,
Sure.
who are the actual partners, not the assistants who are doing their specific task. So if I go away, I hand it over to John, Charles, or Brett.
Yeah, that's quite a
It's one
luxury.
of the partners, and they know they've been involved. They were there at the first meeting and the second meeting, so they don't feel now a new person's coming in.
I think we all
it's
have
just
that.
the partner.
Yeah, and so it's just
Yeah.
how do if I'm a newer associate, how do I support myself so I can get that live-work balance? So I know that Roland is on a motorcycle right now for some period of time, which he does.
He's on
every year.
vacation with his riding buddy, which
He's
is
not typing.
And he has the freedom to just go.
right. He does. Well,
Yeah.
one of the things about being partners in life is that over the last 10 years that we've been working together, we have provided coverage for each other. So that means we haven't vacationed together, which is not ideal.
Right.
So, now that we're a team of 3, we're looking forward to actually being able to get away
Right.
together, which is
Right.
really nice. And so I think he needs his motorcycle rides. I don't need to go on those.
Yeah.
So that will probably still happen. But I would say if you're a solo agent and you haven't even encountered the need yet for coverage, it's never too early to start. Just find someone that you're compatible with, that you feel like you work the same way, and set up that relationship in advance.
Or go
So
to
that
someone
when-
with a team.
Or to go
and
to
ask
someone with a
a team and say, because
Right.
they obviously understand how team structure works,
Right.
and they can adapt and take in one deal much easier than putting on
a
one
good
other
call.
person who might get
good
sick
idea.
or might have some emergency. And then what do you do? Because you're out of town and you've made one relationship. So I would probably, and what I did when I didn't have a team is I did go to another team in the office and say, can you be my point person? But if something goes on, your whole team is there.
So let's talk about briefly, if someone's thinking about becoming part of a team, what would be the initial setup that if 2 people come together and say, hey, let's work together? Well, you've all done it, so you've mastered it. what becomes the dynamic of how do you what would be part of that initial structure? Because I'm hearing it consistently structure, and that gives you the ability to grow, right? So what would top 3 things that you would look for, Madison, if you're
I think
two people going to be
Yeah, I think we've all agreed and mentioned already so far is find someone that complements the skills that you don't excel at. My partner has an economics background, my least favorite thing. I'm good at math, but not my brain. I went to school in Pepperdine for marketing and advertising. So we speak a very different language and we complement each other very differently. She's also a land use specialist and knows the Coastal Commission and the city of Malibu and land development inside and out. That in itself is a huge benefit to me because I don't want to learn all of that. And it's part of our business.
Sure.
And so she has it in her brain. I would have to research it every time and still cross-check and everything else. So we definitely complement each other in that way. 2, I think finding somebody with experience is
more
really
than
important.
you? Yeah.
Experience either more than you in what you want or what you're lacking, or more than you just at real estate in general. Otherwise, if you're both going in it together, that's good, but it leaves a lot of room for misunderstandings, miscommunications, and errors. And you're a newer agent, so it's probably not the best to have 2 new agents. And then lastly, I would say take the process slow when you are deciding to possibly team up and interview. And, you know, everyone, it's like a couple first dates. You know, everyone's on their best behavior. But there's always baggage. You want to know what it's like when it's good and what it's like when the suitcase is open and what it's like when the housekeeper doesn't show up. We want to know it all because you're a family and you work and see each other every single day. And in my office, every single person fits my climate, my culture. And, you know, I have a pretty liberal mind and everyone in my office thinks and acts the same way, but we're all very professional. But we have a lot of fun behind closed doors. And that's
So
what's
fun's
important.
a component to have
Fun's
that.
a component, yes,
absolutely.
absolutely. If I'm going to work, I'm going to have fun doing
We
that.
spend a lot of time together.
Yeah.
You do, yeah.
You have
Candace,
to
anything
laugh.
you'd add to that?
Yes.
A key ingredient for a new partnership?
Well, you've brought it up several times, and I think if you're going to form a team, you have to both be open to systems for sure. Because not everybody lends themselves to systems. It's a very creative business that we're in, and so one thing we found with taking in a third partner is that even though we use Top Producer, we have system after system after system. We've had to refine them even further and kind of kick it up a notch because now it has to be right. It's not just Roland and I talking to each other. Everything has to be 100%. So I think if you don't work that way naturally, you might not lend yourself to being on a team.
Yeah.
I think it's hugely important and
Great point.
laughing. Not
Yeah.
to gotta laugh.
Yeah. Ron, what would you add?
I would do, to follow up on Madison's comment earlier, I would do courtship before commitment. And so what I would do is you got to do 3 deals together before you ink anything. Because with you do 3 deals, there's a high likelihood that you're going to see Madison, the potential dark side of someone, a little grumpiness. Yeah. And you want to see that. Because it's, what we do, and the fun factor is critical. Celebrate the success because it's not easy to get there. Don't just immediately move on to the next deal. And by going through 3 transactions with somebody, there's a real opportunity. You'll see each other's strengths, you'll see each other's challenges, and then you'll be able to memorialize something that's a lot more meaningful.
Great. Anything you'd add to that?
Yeah, I agree that everybody has strengths and weaknesses. So you've got to accept that. Nobody's perfect. So by doing 2 or 3 deals, you will realize what, say, their weaknesses are. And you'll say, yeah, I can live with that. Or no, I definitely couldn't live with that. And I think that is important. And style, everybody has a different style. Nobody's going to have the same style. Yes, I like that style. It's not the same as mine, but it works for me. So there's a lot of things that you have to look at. And I agree with all of you. Party all the time. That makes it fun. Yeah.
Quality of life, right?
Yeah.
Nancy, would you add anything
I
else?
think we got it.
Okay, great.
Well, integrity and honesty. I mean, that goes
Oh,
without
that
saying.
goes without saying, yeah.
Yes. Luckily, Partners Trust, the culture here is already, you have to be, elected and meet those qualifications. So if you're partnering with someone from Partners Trust, you're halfway there, but then it's got to be your fit and your levels, and those things have to be talked about. And what values mean to you and what they mean to somebody else, and what accountability means to you and what it means to somebody else, and what consequences are and things like that. Those are conversations that you really have to have, like a marriage. You're marrying your two businesses.
Let's take one more round about that. What happens when it goes bad? It goes a little sour. How candid, how authentic are you in your levels of communication and the candor? And ideally, it's for the benefit of the partnership and doing better. But how do you deal with it when it gets tough or a little hairy along the way?
This is my first thing that I ever say when we have it, whether it's a new intern or a new employee or a new partner, is if there's a discrepancy between you and another teammate in the office, you have zero permission to speak to anybody else about that except for the person you're having an issue with. Unless you need some advice, you come to Jennifer or myself in confidence. Then once you have that conversation, then we can come in and try and resolve it. But there's no gossip and there's no this, that, or that person's doing this, and it's just you have to direct it and communicate. So that's one, is cutting out any
Can we just
drama.
do that for the whole company? Can
Right?
we just have that as the thing?
So that's rule number one, is deal with your own shit.
Uh-huh.
And then we'll help you. And then two is you have to delegate and trust. So my partner and I, she has equal authority 100%. If I am absent, anyone can go to her, and I trust her judgment implicitly as she does mine. So we have that ability to exchange the answer, and it can be either one of us. We check in with each other, but if she makes an executive decision, it's the right decision. I stand behind it.
Sure.
And I think that's really, those two are the things that I think
Love it.
help things from not getting too crazy. And right now, back to the integrity trust, I have many agents on my team that are friends. Many say don't do business with friends. I've always hired and worked with people that I know and keep very close. I have one on my team that I'm very, very, very close with. That is becoming, and it has become, the first challenge in my team, because we know each other so well that it is making it a little bit more challenging. So I would recommend not it being your best friend or someone you've known for 20 years, but maybe down a notch, because it is easy to hit heads with someone when you know them so well and you push the wrong buttons because you accidentally do, like a family member, and you just can't change that behavior overnight.
Well, Candace, you have that live work relationship, and listen, think about many of the players in our industry are husbands and wives or partners, and that's its own dynamic. So any pearl you would add to that equation about if it gets a little hairy?
Well, we're a small team. We're 3, not 11. And I was just thinking while you were talking that we spend so much time together, and we have so many systems that we know what the next step is going to be in each transaction. And we kind of can see things coming, that maybe are going to be problematic. I love your idea of doing 3 transactions, because one of the 3 is going to be difficult. You know that, and that's when you really,
How about 2 of the 3?
2 or 3, and you're
lucky.
really, and that's when you're really going to learn a lot about your potential partners.
That's
So,
true.
I like to think that we head things off. We see it coming, and to the trust thing, we trust each other completely. Any one of us can go out, and whatever we say, we stand behind it. And so far, knock wood, we haven't had any real issues that way, other than maybe being together 24/7. But that's a separate thing.
Anything you'd add, Ron, to that?
No, I like where we're going.
Yeah. Anything you'd add to that, Lorraine?
I would just add that there is an issue, that you don't let it kind of fester. You just bring it to the table immediately, have it out, and come to a conclusion, and then move on, and just don't hold any grudges.
Just sparked a thought.
Yeah, go ahead.
we have a check-in at 9 a.m. and we have a checkout at 5 p.m. wherever we are, and so it's a 5-10 minute conversation. Okay, so this is what's going on. That way you got closure, or you know what to expect the next day. You know, I want to eliminate 2 a.m. moments, and so if you end your day knowing what's happened, you can prepare.
So that's more of a normal course of
That's a
action.
communication
Well, it also
perspective.
clears the air, Nick, because if there's a challenge, you want it aired out. I agree with Madison. Listen, it's so easy to go out and get 10 opinions on why somebody's wrong and you're right. It's a lot better to go right to the source. You know, Madison, I've got a challenge with what went down today. Can we talk about it? And if that's not the case, then have a conversation within the group, because nothing positive comes from getting multiple opinions.
Yeah.
Because there's always two sides of the story, and even though I think my side of the story is the only side that counts,
Right.
there's really both sides, and so you want to be able to air it
Great
out.
point. Nancy, anything you'd add to that?
I think you have to know that there will be issues.
Yeah.
That's just you're in a marriage and there will be issues, and like everybody's mentioned, you just need to deal with them when they happen and move on. And also everybody has to become a little more Teflon. It's like you can't everybody's doing the best they can, and something happens, deal with it and move on.
And as a team leader, or if you're, what I find to be a little bit challenging is because I'm usually the one being hired, or the TV show or whatever it is, they have this thing that they want me. So whatever happens, if something does get or overlooked, or it's printed wrong, or whatever happens, the email goes out, or communication isn't right, and someone's job is putting the client in a position of discomfort, myself, and I am the only one that gets blamed. Not my partner, not anybody else. I'm accountable and I'm responsible for that. So my job is to make sure that I instill accountability in each and every person in my team.
What a great point.
And that's how I try and calm it, but I make sure that they know their mistake is my problem. So I handle problems at 7, 8, 9, 10. That's my daily job, but that's where my focus is. Everything 6 and below is handled by the team.
You're talking DEF CON.
I'm talking just putting out fires, keeping deals together.
Right.
You know, oops, this was done wrong.
Sure.
This is why. This is how we're going to make. You know, we have 31 listings. I mean, that's 31 phone calls almost every other day.
But Madison, that's the importance of communication. It's very
Absolutely.
important that if a conversation is had, you need to know about it.
Right.
That's what I mean by avoiding surprises.
Totally,
If one of your-
but mistakes happen.
I get it, and I love
comes back to
and
you.
I love the fact that you take total ownership of it. I agree with that. At the end of the day, listen, I will take the heat for what happens on the team, and then we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
And just to kind of distill all of this, there's so much opportunity for us to look outward as opposed to looking inward as to what is my responsibility, and also with a team, what is my intention? If there's an issue between us, let's not get caught up in the issue, but what's the intention and where do we want to go? Because if we can get to where we want to go, then we can come into an alignment. I can honor your perspective, you can honor my perspective, and yet we both understand we're going towards that common good end goal. And we've talked all about teams internally, but I'd love us all to consider that whether you're in a team or not, all of the dynamics of what we've spoken about can apply directly to the partnership and the team of our client and us as that relationship. And the more that we consider our client as our partner and our teammate, the better served we're going to be, the more accountable we're going to be. But also, guess what? We get to have our clients be accountable as well. And do we have that same intention? Yes, I want to buy this house. Yes, I need to sell my house. All right, we're here to work with you. But let's make sure that level of communication is open. And if there is an issue, we do have the courage to put it on the table and deal with it.
It's a really good point. When we sit down with clients and you're talking about price and commissions and strategy, you have to figure out the price, right? You give a range, whatever it is. I always make sure, because I'm talking about my team and this whole situation, but what I tell to the client is, so assuming we work together, we're moving forward, we are a team. And what goes on behind closed doors when we're talking about price and strategy and everything else is between us as a team, because our purpose is to help you sell your home. You want to sell your home, and we want to do it for top dollar in an efficient manner. So let's speak freely, let's exchange information, and know that I'm not going to use that against you, but that's information so I can help achieve the goals. And that way it just kind of diffuses that you're working for them and it's combative and you're not meeting their expectations or whatever it is. This is what we talked about, and we're a team and we're going to be married until your house is sold.
Right.
And so you have a lot of teams, you have partnerships everywhere, each listing or buyer,
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, that's a good point, that you have their best interest at heart.
Yes.
They must always be aware of that. Sometimes they're not always aware of that.
Right, they're not.
Yes.
And so, who decides not to work with those people if they don't want to be your team? That would be the question.
Well, the same way we can choose to who we want to
Right.
bring into our team, and we're going to do 3 deals before we take it to the next level. I think it's in the questions that we ask in that interview process, which is a two-way street. So we say, do I want to work with you? You know, we all have had those moments where we get that little niggle in our belly where it's like, I don't know if I want to work with this person. And then the follow-up question is, yeah, but how much business do I have? Otherwise, maybe I need to. Now we're down a slippery slope. But that's a whole nother podcast
I
that we
agree.
will get
I
into
agree.
at another
Yes.
time. Nancy, any closing thoughts you have about the concept of team and partnership and or just how it served you?
I think it's totally served me, and I would recommend it to anybody who's contemplating it because I think that it is only good. I think that it's more fun. It's somebody that you constantly they know the nitty gritty, so you can bounce things off of all the time. It gives you balance, freedom, make more money. I really don't. As long as you find the right fit, I don't see a downside.
Yeah, great. Lorraine, any closing thoughts?
I
from
agree
your
with
perspective?
that. And it's also great to know we have the team of Partners Trust behind us. So it's like a double whammy. And I think we're all very fortunate to have that. Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you for that. Ron?
I like being here.
A man of few words. Okay, I love that. Candace, any closing thoughts for the concept of team?
I can't say enough about the positivity of being on a team. We love our team. We've discovered that 2 + 1 is not 3, it's 5.
Very
And
cool.
it's just fantastic. It's just changed everything. So I would encourage everyone to consider it if they meet with someone that they think they'd like to team up with.
Love it.
It's a great concept.
Closing thoughts?
Business is exhausting. So a team and a fellowship is, I think, has tremendous value. I did read when I was so my team, I have a partner, but then there's other teammates that are not agents that have special titles that work for a certain salary, and then they get bonuses based on the deals, and their job is to bring in business and manage the business. So with saying that is, I read a really interesting article which helped me design the business model I have for a team. And NAR published that there are 3 types of team structures in our business. There's a partnership, there is the name with staff, so your name, and then you've got your staff, and that's your team, and your buyer's agents, but they don't get really acknowledgement. And then there's the silent business manager top agent that really is not the person out in the field, but they have agents under them, and all they're doing, they're really good managers is what they are. And they're managing agents and a business and a brand. So I liked things about all of those. So I have a partner and had a partner already. I didn't want my name, but the Malbelife team is our name. And then we brought in the third part, which is the silent business manager, which is someone who is in charge of new development, business, prospective follow-up, and that is strictly his role, and he gets paid by results. And so we took all 3 business models and I read each paragraph and how NAR described it and kind of put them together, and that's how I actually borrowed this new position and title and implemented it into the business, and it has been tremendous because someone needs to be prospecting and following up, and there needs to be a system. And I again, don't want to be doing that myself, and that could be a full-time job. But if that's someone's full-time job and they're based on incentive, you can expect a pipeline of business to continually be coming. And there's creative ways of doing that, like social media and things, without spending a lot of money either.
And that was an NAR an article
It was
online?
an NAR article that was
Recent
probably
publication?
no, it must have been last year, at least a year and a half ago.
So Google NAR teams and
Yeah,
things like that.
yeah, and it was talking about the growing trend of teams and things like that. So it might have
Great.
been where you got your information, but it was
Super.
those
Yeah,
magazines,
it's
by
very
the way.
interesting.
I always pull information out of there. They're amazing. The CAR and the NAR.
Very interesting, yeah.
My dear friends, thank you so much, Nancy and Lorraine and Ron and Candace and Madison and those of you here with us. I'm Nick Siegel, and yet another Next Level podcast. Thanks for being with us. We look forward to connecting with you soon. Thank you. And a hand to all of you.